Amanda Carter was a rising star in wildlife photography, known for capturing nature's raw beauty. Megan, her best friend, was a writer struggling in the shadow of Amanda's success. Brian Fields, the town recluse, lived on the edge of the forest, his life shrouded in mystery. When Amanda vanished on a seemingly routine photography trip, suspicion, betrayal, and obsession unraveled a story so twisted that no one in Pinewood Creek could have predicted the truth. In the small, picturesque town of Pinewood Creek, life was simple and serene. Surrounded by dense forests and winding trails, it was a haven for hikers, nature lovers, and photographers. Among them was Amanda Carter, a celebrated wildlife photographer whose work had graced the covers of magazines and adorned gallery walls across the country. Known for her daring spirit and passion for capturing the untamed beauty of nature, Amanda was a local celebrity. Her dedication to her craft often led her to venture into the most remote corners of the forest, chasing the perfect shot. In the summer of 2023, Amanda embarked on one such expedition, telling friends she was heading to a secluded part of Pinewood Creek known for its rare bird species. She was always meticulous about her plans, leaving behind detailed notes about her route and estimated return. But when 3 days passed without any word from her, worry began to spread. Her family contacted the authorities, and a search party was quickly assembled. The first clue in Amanda's disappearance came when her car was discovered parked near the entrance to a lesser-known hiking trail. The vehicle was locked, and nothing appeared out of place at first glance. However, her camera bag, usually her constant companion, was missing. Inside the car, investigators found a partially eaten sandwich, a bottle of water, and a road map with a section circled in red ink, a marked area deep within the forest. As search teams combed the woods, the mystery deepened. After days of fruitless searching, they stumbled upon Amanda's weathered notebook near a creek. The notebook, though damp, contained a series of cryptic entries. One note read, "I feel them watching me, unseen but always there." Another entry mentioned strange noises she had heard at night, describing them as unnatural, almost human, but not quite. These passages painted a troubling picture of Amanda's final days and hinted at her growing sense of unease. Rumors spread rapidly through Pinewood Creek. Some believed Amanda had encountered a wild animal, while others speculated she had become disoriented and lost. But the unsettling tone of her writings suggested something far more sinister. Local legends about the forest being haunted began to resurface. Stories of eerie figures and inexplicable events fueled fears that Amanda's disappearance was not a simple case of misadventure. Adding to the intrigue, a hiker came forward claiming to have seen Amanda the day she vanished. According to the hiker, Amanda seemed agitated and in a hurry, constantly glancing over her shoulder as if she were being followed. This account, combined with her cryptic notes, led investigators to consider the possibility that Amanda had been stalked. The dense forest, once a symbol of beauty and tranquility, now seemed foreboding. The towering trees cast long shadows over the search teams as they scoured every inch of the area. Despite their efforts, no other significant clues emerged. The community watched with bated breath as the search stretched into weeks, and hope of finding Amanda alive began to wane. Her disappearance left a void in the heart of Pinewood Creek, and the town that once celebrated her artistry was now haunted by her absence. What had started as a routine photography trip had become an enigma, a story that gripped the nation and left investigators desperate for answers. As the investigation into Amanda Carter's disappearance intensified, the focus shifted to those who had crossed paths with her in the days leading up to her vanishing. Among the names that surfaced was Brian Fields, a reclusive man in his late 40s who lived in a small cabin on the edge of Pinewood Creek. Brian was known to the townspeople, but not in a friendly way. His solitary lifestyle and curt demeanor had earned him a reputation as someone best avoided. Brian's property bordered the trail where Amanda's car had been found, and it wasn't unusual for hikers to accidentally wander onto his land. Over the years, he had developed a habit of confronting trespassers, often with aggressive words or even threats. These encounters fueled rumors about Brian's temper and made him an easy target for suspicion. When a tipster came forward claiming they had seen Brian arguing with Amanda a week before she disappeared, he quickly became the focus of the investigation. The police obtained a warrant to search Brian's property. What they found sent shockwaves through the community. Inside his cabin, officers discovered a journal filled with entries about Amanda. The entries were unsettling, describing her photography trips in vivid detail. Some of the notes even referenced specific locations and times she had visited. Alongside the journal were dozens of photographs of Amanda, many of which appeared to have been taken without her knowledge. These discoveries painted a troubling picture of obsession, and Brian's protests of innocence did little to sway public opinion. The evidence against Brian seemed overwhelming. Investigators pieced together a narrative that placed him as a stalker who had become fixated on Amanda. His isolated lifestyle and history of confrontations added to the perception that he was capable of harm. The media, hungry for sensational headlines, ran stories portraying Brian as a loner with a dark side, solidifying his role as the prime suspect in Amanda's disappearance. Despite the damning evidence, Brian maintained his innocence. He admitted to admiring Amanda's work and even acknowledged photographing her on occasion, but he insisted there was no malicious intent. According to Brian, he had been documenting wildlife near her usual spots and coincidentally captured images of her in the process. He claimed the journal was part of his broader notes on the forest and its visitors. As the investigation progressed, cracks began to appear in the case against Brian. Forensic analysis of the photographs revealed that many were taken from public trails, not private or secluded areas. Additionally, none of the entries in Brian's journal explicitly suggested harmful intent. While his behavior was undeniably unusual, there was no concrete evidence linking him directly to Amanda's disappearance. This revelation created tension between law enforcement and the community. Some felt Brian was being unfairly targeted because of his eccentric nature, while others were convinced he was guilty and deserved to be behind bars. The case became a polarizing topic, dividing Pinewood Creek into those who believed Brian's claims of innocence and those who saw him as a dangerous figure hiding behind his reclusiveness. As suspicion swirled around Brian, Amanda's fate remained a mystery. The focus on him as the prime suspect distracted from other potential leads, leaving the investigation at a standstill. Meanwhile, the forest that once symbolized freedom and adventure now seemed to hold secrets no one could unravel. Just as the case against Brian Field seemed to solidify, a new development shattered the fragile narrative investigators had been building. Amanda's best friend, Megan, stepped forward with a startling confession that cast doubt on everything she had previously told the police. In her initial interviews, Megan had described Amanda as a cautious yet determined adventurer, someone who thrived on pushing boundaries but always prioritized safety. Now, she admitted she had deliberately withheld crucial information about Amanda's activities in the weeks leading up to her disappearance. According to Megan, Amanda had been pursuing a secret project that she hadn't even shared with her closest friends until shortly before her disappearance. Amanda believed she had uncovered evidence of an illegal wildlife trafficking ring operating in the forests surrounding Pinewood Creek. She had grown increasingly convinced that exposing the operation could be the pinnacle of her career, a groundbreaking expose that would bring attention to a growing environmental crisis. Megan explained that Amanda's passion for the project bordered on obsession. She had spent countless hours following leads, interviewing locals, and documenting suspicious activities deep in the woods. Megan had repeatedly warned Amanda that such a project was dangerous, especially since she had no idea who might be involved. Amanda, however, dismissed Megan's concerns, insisting that the risks were worth it if she could make a difference. Detectives quickly turned their attention to this new lead, uncovering a series of emails and text messages between Amanda and an unidentified individual. The messages were cryptic, but pointed to an imminent meeting Amanda had arranged to exchange information. The location of the meeting was near the area where her car had been found, raising questions about whether this encounter had taken place and, if so, what had transpired. As investigators dug deeper, Megan's involvement became more suspicious. She admitted she had tried to dissuade Amanda from continuing her work, but her reasons were not entirely altruistic. Megan revealed she had long felt overshadowed by Amanda's success. While Amanda's photography had gained national recognition, Megan's own ambitions as a writer had languished in obscurity. She confessed that she envied Amanda's fearless pursuit of her goals and felt increasingly alienated from her friend's world. Adding to the complexity, Megan's phone records revealed she had been in the vicinity of Amanda's last known location on the day she disappeared. When questioned about this, Megan claimed she had gone there to convince Amanda one last time to abandon the project. However, her story lacked consistency, and her sudden decision to come forward raised doubts about her motives. This new angle shifted the focus of the investigation away from Brian Fields and toward a broader web of intrigue. If Amanda had indeed stumbled upon a wildlife trafficking ring, her disappearance could be the result of foul play by individuals desperate to protect their operation. But Megan's increasingly erratic behavior and history of jealousy also made her a person of interest. As these revelations unfolded, the mystery of Amanda's disappearance grew even murkier. The case now teetered on the edge of conspiracy, with investigators struggling to untangle the threads of ambition, betrayal, and potential criminal activity. Each new discovery brought more questions than answers, leaving everyone wondering who could be trusted and what secrets still lay hidden in the shadows of Pinewood Creek. As the investigation spiraled deeper into Amanda Carter's disappearance, the discovery of her involvement in a possible wildlife trafficking expose left authorities chasing a complex and dangerous trail. Detective Harris, determined to piece together the puzzle, began revisiting overlooked leads and re-examining evidence. It was during this phase that an unexpected connection emerged, one that would shift the case in an entirely new direction. Brian Fields, who had been under intense scrutiny as the primary suspect, turned out to have a hidden side few in Pinewood Creek knew about. Despite his reputation as a loner with a hostile attitude toward trespassers, Brian had been quietly working with a local wildlife preservation group. His extensive journal entries and photographs, which initially appeared to be signs of obsession with Amanda, were actually part of his efforts to document illegal poaching and habitat destruction. He had been collaborating with conservationists to gather evidence against individuals exploiting the forest for profit. When confronted with this revelation, Brian admitted his involvement, explaining that his secrecy was out of fear for his safety. He had long suspected that powerful individuals were behind the illegal activities in the forest, and exposing them without concrete evidence could put him in danger. Brian's records, once seen as incriminating, were now reinterpreted as invaluable documentation of suspicious behavior in the area. This new perspective shifted the investigation toward the Wildlife Preservation Group. Among its members was a small but influential network of activists, biologists, and local officials. On the surface, they appeared united in their mission to protect the environment. However, interviews with some of the group's members hinted at internal tensions and hidden agendas. One member, in particular, seemed evasive during questioning. A senior conservationist who had been a vocal advocate for cracking down on poaching, but had recently scaled back his involvement in fieldwork. Detective Harris uncovered financial irregularities tied to the group, suggesting that someone within the organization might be using conservation efforts as a cover for illegal activities. These revelations deepened the theory that Amanda's disappearance was linked to her investigation into wildlife trafficking. It was becoming increasingly clear that Amanda's secret project had brought her dangerously close to uncovering the truth about the forest's hidden crimes. Amid these developments, Megan's role in the case grew even more complicated. Forensic analysis of Amanda's damaged notebook revealed an entry that referenced a key player Amanda had been planning to meet. The location was cryptically described as where the stream splits, a reference that matched a site near Megan's family-owned cabin in the woods. This raised the possibility that Megan was more deeply involved in Amanda's disappearance than she had admitted. The discovery of this connection between Megan and the preservation group added a layer of intrigue. Could Megan's jealousy and personal conflict with Amanda have intersected with the criminal activities Amanda was investigating? Or was Megan being manipulated by others who sought to use her as a pawn in a larger scheme? As investigators pieced together these clues, the scope of the case expanded. What had initially seemed like a personal tragedy now appeared to be part of a much larger conspiracy. Amanda's disappearance was no longer just about her. It was a collision of ambition, secrecy, and greed in the shadowy depths of Pinewood Creek's forest. Each revelation brought the team closer to the truth, but it also heightened the danger for anyone daring to uncover it. The breakthrough in Amanda Carter's case came from an unexpected source: her damaged notebook, which had been recovered near the creek. Though waterlogged and fragile, forensic analysts managed to uncover a previously unnoticed entry using ultraviolet light. The hidden page detailed plans for a clandestine meeting Amanda had arranged with an anonymous source. The location of the meeting was specific: a secluded cabin deep in the woods owned by none other than Megan's family. This revelation sent investigators back to Megan, who had already been under scrutiny for her inconsistent statements. When confronted with the evidence, Megan claimed ignorance, insisting she had no knowledge of any meeting or involvement in Amanda's disappearance. However, the story grew increasingly suspicious as further analysis revealed that Amanda's final email, a cryptic message sent to an unidentified recipient, had been sent using Megan's Wi-Fi network on the night she vanished. Detectives obtained a warrant to search the cabin, which had been largely untouched since Amanda's disappearance. What they found changed the trajectory of the case entirely. Inside, they discovered Amanda's camera, its memory card missing but still containing smudges of blood. Her backpack, similarly stained, was tucked into a corner alongside a pair of gloves that appeared to have been hastily discarded. The most damning evidence was a set of forged emails that investigators believed were intended to implicate Brian Fields further, tying him to Amanda's disappearance with fabricated details. The cabin's isolation and its connection to Megan's family cast her as a prime suspect. Faced with mounting evidence, Megan finally broke under pressure and confessed to being involved in Amanda's disappearance. She admitted she had lured Amanda to the cabin, but her explanation added a shocking twist to the story. According to Megan, she had initially planned to confront Amanda over her obsession with the wildlife trafficking investigation. She claimed that Amanda's relentless pursuit of the story had driven a wedge between them, and Megan had hoped to use the meeting to persuade her to abandon the dangerous project. However, the confrontation escalated into a physical altercation when Amanda refused to back down. Megan described a moment of panic when Amanda fell, hitting her head on the edge of a table. In her fear, Megan fled, leaving Amanda injured and alone in the cabin. Though Megan's confession explained some aspects of the case, it left critical questions unanswered. Amanda's body was never found, and forensic evidence suggested more than a simple accident had occurred. The bloodstains in the cabin were consistent with a violent struggle, not a single fall, raising doubts about the veracity of Megan's account. Moreover, investigators uncovered a disturbing connection between Megan and individuals tied to the wildlife trafficking ring, suggesting she might have been coerced into acting against Amanda or even played a larger role in silencing her. In the end, Megan was charged with manslaughter, obstruction of justice, and evidence tampering. Brian Fields was exonerated and quietly returned to his life of solitude, though the trauma of being falsely accused lingered. The case officially closed, but the lack of a body and the unanswered questions left a haunting void. Amanda Carter's disappearance became a cautionary tale, a tragic intersection of ambition, betrayal, and greed. Pinewood Creek, once a symbol of natural beauty, now carried the weight of a mystery that would forever remain part of its legacy. The forest that Amanda had loved so deeply had swallowed her whole, leaving only fragments of her story and a chilling reminder of the dangers that lurk in the shadows of trust and ambition.